Hello, hello, hello. Davey Portman here from UpNXT, the Patreon, and this is a pay-per-view review. It's Money in the Bank. We are live right now on Twitch, twitch.tv/UpNXTpodcast. Hello, Twitch Room. And I am joined tonight by some world champion patrons to talk all about tonight's Money in the Bank. So first, I want to introduce you to Chris Leone. Chris, how are you doing?
Good, yeah, riding the high off of that show. That was, it got off to a little bit of a slow start, but ended strong, and very excited to see what's coming up in the weeks ahead for WWE.
And we've got Jared Black all the way over in Australia. How are you, Jared?
Hey guys, middle of the day for me, but it was awesome to watch the pay-per-view with you guys, Davey. I think I was maybe messaging you saying I was originally supposed to be on, I think, the Hell in the Cell watch-along, but first of all, life got in the way, but then you jokingly made the reference that I don't think Jared really liked the card too much because that's why I bailed on you. But this Money in the Bank one was way better and had something to really look forward to. So, yeah, glad to be on with you guys.
Well, glad to have you on again, both of you. Jared, we just had the BDE in the bank on this very Patreon on Twitch, and you didn't fare so well in that.
Average performance.
Yeah, well, let's hope you can pick yourself up for next time. But yes, let's go right into the show. We start with the pre-show where the SmackDown tag team titles were being defended. The Mysterios, Dominic and Rey, taking on the Usos. Chris, can you describe this kind of entrance that the Mysterios had here?
I can try. So the Mysterios.
Good luck, Chris. This is going to be good.
The Mysterios were in front of some sort of Aztec temple, and then this portal opened up, and they walked through the portal and arrived at Money in the Bank in Texas. I think that's about as good as I could do.
Yeah,
are the Mysterios supposed to have some sort of roots in that part of the world? No? Is that something they're trying to play up?
I guess, and apparently they have superpowers too, so we're finding out all sorts of new things about them.
But yeah, I was kind of cooking dinner while this match was on, so I only caught a little bit of it. But the finish came when Jimmy kind of sacrificed himself to take the 619 for Jay. And then there was a roll-up from the Usos with them kind of holding the feet for leverage. So kind of cheating to win there. But new tag team champions with the Usos. Guys, did you happen to catch this, Jared?
Yeah, so I didn't catch the end of it at the same time as well, but I watched most of the match. But we talked about on the stream as to whether we thought this was going to be a title change, because it was the last minute addition to the card, and with Roman, in at least my mind, most likely sticking around as champion for a little while, I thought maybe they would want to put the belts on the Usos to really hone that this is where the power is, and maybe that's storyline where they were going, giving those guys all the gold. And given that was last minute, I thought, well, that's an obviously likely of a chance of them going, we want to change the narrative to go in this sort of direction. And sure enough, that's the way it went. But it was a good match. It was a good match.
Yeah, it was... Sorry, go for it, Chris.
Oh, yeah, it was a pretty strong pre-show match. I was surprised that they had the title change on the pre-show. Normally, you don't see title changes before the main card starts. But no, it was a good match and set the tone for the evening, I thought.
Yeah, what I took from this was kind of, because we're just getting back to having fans. They really want that first match in front of these fans to be something big. So rather than in previous kind of pre-pandemic pay-per-views, you'd have kind of throwaway matches on the pre-show a lot of the time. I think they really wanted to start with a bang here and right down to the entrances as well, like big entrances for both teams. But yeah, I'm not too surprised the Usos have the championship. I think it makes sense with the whole Roman Reigns story to have all the belts there. Well, let's go into the pay-per-view proper, which is opened by the Women's Money in the Bank match. Alexa Bliss, Liv Morgan, Nikki Ash, Natalya, Tamina, Naomi, and Asuka. The match starts with all women just brawling in the middle of the ring, with Alexa stood on the turnbuckle just watching on. At one point, Alexa teases that she's going to lower the briefcase down with magic. She kind of just reaches her arm in the air, but she's taken out quite soon after. Everyone's now just getting this stuff in, doing their kicks. There's Liv with a nice-looking enziguri, a rear end from Naomi, Tamina with her super kick, and then Tamina sets up a ladder in the ropes and kind of seesaw catapults Alexa face first into it. As Tamina is setting up a ladder, Liv Morgan runs in and kind of scales the ladder as Tamina's holding it. Asuka then tries to trap Tamina under the ladder so she can climb, but Tamina uses her strength to lift it up when Liv jumps on the ladder from out of nowhere, starts climbing up, and then she gets knocked down. Her and Natalya are now fighting, kind of tug-of-warring over this ladder for quite some time. And then Alexa starts creepily kind of crawling up this ladder in the corner towards Liv Morgan, and poor Liv Morgan's got to act terrified here. Then Tamina starts to climb, Zelina Vega starts to climb, but Alexa kind of magics her back down with her psychic abilities, I guess. And the crowd, I felt, kind of turned a little here. They were quite into Alexa earlier, but there were definitely some audible boos with this magic hypnotizing spot. There's a powerbomb from Naomi onto Selina's back, right onto a ladder. And now Natalya is climbing, so Zelina jumps on her back and has her in a sleeper hold, trying to choke her out. She puts Natty to sleep, so Zelina starts grabbing for the title when Liv runs up and just pulls Zelina off. And now all of the women are brawling in the ring, and Nikki climbs up this ladder at ringside and hits a crossbody, taking them all out. It didn't look too good here, I didn't think. Alexa then hits her twisted DDT to Nikki, but they all bury Alexa under a heap of ladders, and now all 6 women are on top of the ladders, brawling away as Nikki climbs up, and as they're all distracted fighting, takes down the Money in the Bank briefcase and is Miss Money in the Bank. Jared, what did you think of this Money in the Bank here?
Not so great, unfortunately. This is where I think I jokingly had said that they started off SmackDown with an absolute banger of a match, and then they started off this pay-per-view with almost the opposite, and I wonder whether they're gauging the fans in that way, but not really. I will say that, Nikki Ash dive was one of the first of a couple of fairly blown spots throughout the pay-per-view. And we were talking about that storyline I was almost making up with Roman Reigns and the Usos. We were talking about how, wouldn't it be interesting if Naomi was to, have the title at some point throughout this and kind of join that bloodline. And we were almost making our own sort of story. So I kind of got hyped up for that being a possibility. But then I thought the favorite in this match is probably Liv Morgan with the way that they're focusing on her and everything. And then I think you, Davey, had predicted maybe that it could be a Nikki Ash night, and to put it on her in a gimmick that is really just completely dead to me and probably doesn't have any sort of good future. Maybe I'm being pessimistic there. Probably not the greatest. Not awful by any stretch, but not great.
Chris?
Yeah, kind of on the same page as Jared. I was not excited about this match to begin with. Generally, with Money in the Bank, I'm looking for a lot of new, exciting, up and coming guy people that could get the briefcase and do something with it. And you look at this match, you have Natalia, you have Tamina. I mean, Asuka's great, but she doesn't need the briefcase. And like, who you looked at who could realistically win this, and Liv seemed like the favorite. And Nikki, I'm glad that she's getting this push. I'm glad that this is kind of her idea and this gimmick, and the company's behind her. But realistically, can you see this gimmick pinning Becky or Charlotte or Bianca to win a world championship? I don't see it, and I wasn't really. I thought they could have had better options to win it, and the match itself was fairly hit or miss.
Yeah, I see in the Twitch room right now, Dickie Bird says it's the live female version on Otis from last year. And I do kind of get that sense that we're going to go a bit more comedic with her, and maybe she's just a bit of a flavor of the month with this new superhero gimmick, because, I don't know, maybe Vince just watched the Avengers and thinks superheroes are cool right now. I don't know. But to be fair, she has pinned both Charlotte and Rhea, so the story is already there with both of those. So I can see why they put it on it, but put it on her. The match itself, I thought, was a bit overambitious at times, and there was quite a bit of sloppiness. But for me, Liv Morgan actually stepped up, and I thought she looked great in this match. I think the way she's improved since kind of the NXT days, it's quite clear she's been putting the work in. So I hope they do something with Liv Morgan moving forwards. That brings us to our backstage segment. We have the Usos and Roman Reigns. And the Usos are saying, Roman's saying, it's been a long journey. You took all the pressure and you made it work. Main event Jay, and look at you. You're now a tag team champion. Jimmy, you were smart enough to learn. The bloodline's number one. Family's always watching. Now I've given you what you want. It's time to give me what I want. And Jay says, I've got you. You're the head of the table. I acknowledge you. And Jimmy says, I acknowledge you. You're my tribal chief. But Chris, I don't know about you. It kind of felt like Jimmy was half in here. He didn't seem fully committed with what he was saying.
Yeah, although what I was kind of more drawn to, it looked like Roman was almost kind of getting off on this. The faces he was making as they were acknowledging him, it was really kind of like sick and perverse. Like he was getting some kind of twisted pleasure out of hearing these guys acknowledge him.
How awesome is it that there is this level of detail when we're analyzing like that? Yeah, where we're seeing, as you said, Chris, I didn't really even think about Roman reacting that way, but first of all, that's very accurate. And second of all, it's like he's getting this guttural pleasure. He even leveled them up as well. He talked well about them kind of when he was talking about it, but that just shows you that he thinks so much of himself that he almost is telling them how well they're doing, but he's expecting back a compliment. It's this godlike figure expecting to be acknowledged, as he said, and that this whole Roman, most of it, I will say, 90% of it, has been excellent because they have the acting from him. He has complex emotions. They're not hitting you over the head with it. They're not a superhero climbing a ladder in a weird gold and blue leotard. And I know, listen, wrestling is an eclectic mix of different things. You don't always just have to have that serious thing, but there's emotional depth to it. And just this promo was excellent.
The fact that Roman is essentially taking credit for them winning the tag team titles, and he's done nothing. It's not like he interfered in their match to help them win or anything, but then the way he expects him going, now it's time for you to give me what I want. It's he expects like them. It's saying, I need you tonight.
You're around my aura. That's almost my payment to you. That's the thing you get to have to be around me. And that kind of character is, you want to respect it. You have some, this is stuff I want to see fleshed out. Whereas there's other segments on SmackDown or just in WWE in general that just come nowhere close to doing something like that. So this promo even was a highlight of the show.
We go to the Raw Tag Team Championship match. The Viking Raiders challenging AJ Styles and Omos. For some reason, they decided to replay the Street Profits Viking Raiders decathlon or whatever it was they did last year.
They're burying themselves immediately. Immediately, they're starting from lower than where they should have.
It felt there were a few times on this show where we'll get to like the Drew promo later, where it's almost them going wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Yeah, we know things were shit. We know we were terrible. We know we did this stuff, but now we got fans, so we're good. Come on. It was very peculiar them showing this. But let's get into the match itself. The Raiders are just destroying AJ Styles early in this match. Eric slams Ivar on top of AJ. And then at one point, Omos tosses AJ to the outside into a Hurricane Rana, which looked pretty cool. Omos then is in the match, scoop slams Ivar, does a military press to Ivar. Quite impressive considering the size of Ivar. Steps on his chest for the pin, but Ivar kicks out. Then the Raiders start coming back with knees to the head of Omos. They're just double teaming him, trying to chop the big man down. They eventually clothesline him to the outside, but AJ has hit the blind tag and rolls up Ivar for a 2 count. AJ then goes for the phenomenal forearm, but gets caught in the Viking experience. It's 1, it's 2, and Omos pushes Eric into them to break them up. They're all then just attacking each other, kicking each other in the head. Omos attempts to do some kind of kick here. And then Omos finishes with the choke bomb to Eric for the win. Jared, let's start with you here.
Omos didn't leave his feet.
Nope.
And we were all very quick to immediately point it out. And the only time he does is to make the pinfall. Why even do that? Why not just do the foot on the chest and just pin him like that? Like, what? It was almost insulting that he even got down in the end because of that. Because when he was taking all the moves, he couldn't get down then at some point. But, and yeah, is this a rest period for AJ and his run? Is this just go do this little tag team program with this guy that needs to get experience out there, because obviously Vince just really likes him because of how massive he is, because I didn't really see much from Omos. Like, it was, a decent match, and I did like some of the big guy spots that he does. The choke bomb is cool, especially coming from that height. It looks like a good visual, but yeah, I don't really have any appetite for this tag team that AJ's in.
You see, you say, is AJ like having a little bit of a rest here? But the thing is, he's
doing most of the work.
He then busts his ass to try and get people into these matches because it just dies a death whenever Omos is in it. This guy is huge. He's impressive to look at, and even has shown some personality as kind of the heavy for AJ. But I don't want to see him wrestle. He can't do anything, and his selling was like, as you said, he doesn't go to his back. He can't fall down. So I don't see where a guy like this can really go. Chris, what were your thoughts on the match itself?
Yeah, I mean, it was... I agree with everything you're saying. I think this is the most we've seen out of Omos so far, and it really kind of exposed his limitations. I think he'd just be way better as a heater for an AJ singles push. There was that one really cool spot where he threw AJ over the top rope onto the floor into the Hurricane Rana. And some of the power stuff he does is impressive, but this is the first time we really had to see him sell, and it just looked goofy. Like he just didn't know how to react when he was getting hit and kicked and all that stuff. AJ busted his ass. The Viking Raiders were good in this one, but he's just being misused. He should not be having these long matches. They had
this at the start of the program. They had it where he almost was just this bodyguard almost, but then they put him into this, more physical role and stuff, and he's so green. He needs the experience, and I know he was in NXT for a little bit, but he was only there for a short time in the long run, and then obviously he's impressive, and that's why I said I think it's just one of these guys Vince just grabbed, because he was just like, oh my God, look at this guy. People will be impressed by him, especially live events, whatever it might be. And they're putting him in there with like a guy that the thing he's almost known for is his work rate, and the fact that he's this awesome wrestler and he's had it for so long. And I know that sounds like a good way to learn, probably being around AJ, but can he really get that much that he's going to be able to do from AJ? It's probably more a psychology thing, but it's an odd place to put AJ.
Yeah, it's very peculiar, and I hope this team kind of comes to an end soon. And maybe, I'd like to see AJ in the title picture again. You can move him at some point to SmackDown for maybe a Roman feud as a babyface or something. But it's a shame. But AJ and the Viking Raiders worked hard here. We go backstage to Kevin Patrick, who's interviewing Drew McIntyre. And Drew begs Fort Worth, can I hear some noise? And he says, I have to win this match. And last time I was in Texas, I won the Royal Rumble. And he goes, if we don't hear the Thunderdome ever again, we'll be very happy. Which got a good reaction from the crowd here. And then he goes into story time and says, everyone loves the story time. Well, this is, I'm going to be breaking bones, kicking heads off, and becoming Mr. Money in the Bank. Chris, how did you feel the crowd were with Drew tonight? Did you... his promo, it's very, very babyface, but for me it kind of works, and there is a kind of, I don't know, I hear Drew in his words, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I really like this run that Drew has been on. I mean, you think back to the 2020 Royal Rumble, the crowd went nuts when he eliminated Lesnar and then wound up winning the match. And I think any sort of negative reaction more has to do with the booking of late, where it's just been him and Lashley for the past 4 months over and over and over again. I think people just want to see something new, but we'll talk about it later. But when we got to the match, I think there were some mixed reactions, but he did the Claymore countdown and they seem to get behind that. So I think he's been put in a bit of a tough spot, but I'm still a big fan of his. I think he did some great work, kind of one of the mainstays of the pandemic Thunderdome era. And it's unfortunate that maybe some crappy booking is causing people to turn on him a bit.
Jared, anything to add here?
Yeah, Drew is a very capable performer. He's obviously got a great look, but the promos that he's been cutting week after week on Raw have really been souring me. It's the stuff that I've had to even go back and watch when I've just heard John and Wayne maybe talk about it, and then I was like, I've got to see this. Is he really talking about these things? That he's great. Like, I totally would see him with a Money in the Bank or something like that, maybe previous to his run now, because he just had such a long reign with the title. But listen, he was pandering to the crowd, and these are the first times back, so I can be a little bit lenient with that, but I don't usually find that something that I like the baby faces to do, because it just sounds so generic. But listen, he's in a bit of a funk at the moment. Maybe focus is going to go elsewhere, but I still think there's always going to be a bright future for Drew. I just don't know. I think this is a bit of a low point.
We go to the WWE Championship match. Bobby Lashley defending against Kofi Kingston. Kofi comes out, and we've now got this huge LED screen at the back of the stage, and all the kind of hologram graphics. And I think Kofi's had the best of the night. It was this Super Mario, 3D of Kofi just jumping up, going up the bricks and the pipes and stuff. Chris, I thought this looked awesome.
Yeah, I love the new set design with that just gigantic Tron in the back. And yeah, this was one of the better ones, but just in general, I think it really adds a lot. That new set design really gives it a fresh look.
And MVP, as soon as the bell rings, grabs Kofi's ankle. So Kofi struggles getting out, is a little distracted, but manages to jump over Lashley. Lashley then grabs him by the ankle and just delivers a devastating clothesline. He hits a big one-handed spine buster. And Lashley's just throwing Kofi around everywhere, throwing him into the ring post, throwing him around on the outside. He smashes Kofi right in the face, applies the Hurt Lock, and transitions it into a fall-away slam to cause even more damage. He hits one Dominator. He hits another Dominator. And now some of the crowd are actually chanting one more time. He hits a third Dominator, tells the crowd to be quiet. Bobby Lashley locks in the Hurt Lock, and Kofi Kingston taps. Jared, this was an absolute annihilation of Kofi Kingston. Bobby Lashley winning in very, very dominant fashion. What did you make of this?
Yeah, I loved to see something like this. The actual quality of the match, it was definitely fairly decent, but the idea was that Lashley was this absolute destroyer, as we say it, pun intended, dominator, and that's exactly what I wanted to see from him now. I know he's obviously probably being heated up, and that was probably the idea of this pay-per-view, to just really get him a huge win, because we might know what's next, but this is what I wanted to see from Bobby Lashley and have for a while.
Chris?
Yeah, I really like this. We weren't sure of, was this going to be a Brock Cena type match, or it was just 100% squash, or would Kofi get like the Finn Balor, Daniel Bryan hope spot for a couple minutes? It sucks for Kofi that his last two title matches were getting F5'd and pinned in 6 seconds by Lesnar, and then this. But Lashley's a champion, and he looked incredibly strong. So I have no complaints about this. I think Lashley looked phenomenal, and he looks like a absolute dominant champion going into SummerSlam. I know there's some talk about, is it going to be Goldberg coming back for another match, but Lashley looks like a monster right now, and I think that was mission accomplished tonight.
Yeah, I mean, when we've seen someone like Brock do this before, the problem is Brock isn't there all the time. So if you're gonna, it's really good to see them getting so behind someone who is a full-time main roster person, and I think they're doing a great job with both Lashley and Roman at this point of keeping them looking very strong. And so you always stack the odds up for your new challenger. I just feel it's disappointing it's Kofi, especially after this has happened before with Brock. I don't think there's quite the impact of a Bobby Lashley killing a Kofi Kingston as there is a Brock Lesnar killing a John Cena. I think if this was maybe Randy Orton challenging and Lashley just destroyed him in this fashion, it would mean a lot more. Unfortunately for me, it's just, oh, poor Kofi. He's going to go back, probably have another tag run.
It would mean something if there was this overall story of Kofi being annihilated by Lesnar, being annihilated by Lashley, and going through some sort of transformative process to get a bigger win down the track. I don't have any faith that that's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm with you. He forgot for about 2 years that he lost the title like he did. But I'm with, if they can play it into his character and have some sort of redemption run for him, I'd be into that. I just don't know if they'll have the patience to really think that far ahead with Kofi. We go to our Raw Women's Championship match, Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair. If you've heard our last few post shows for these pay-per-views, have not been a fan of this feud at all. Very, very confused. I'm not sure what Rhea Ripley's meant to be. Is she a babyface? Is she a heel? This is a feud that has probably been in the running for me for one of the worst of the year. But then the match happens. Very early on, I don't know if someone said something in the crowd or something, but Charlotte flips them off and tells them to suck it. And both on the network and Peacock, I know they try to actually censor this. I think both your streams sort of went black for this, but
I just
came
had
back up.
I just had a small black screen moment, a fully black screen for about a few seconds, but I saw the middle finger and the suck it, the crotch chop that she gave as well. I saw them both.
I think she was reacting to "We Want Becky" chants. That's what I had read I've seen a couple
Okay.
people say on Twitter that the crowd was chanting,
Yes.
"We want Becky" at the start, and that was her reaction to it.
Okay. But I love this. Like,
Yes.
I
Good
Good work
absolutely
then. Yeah,
love
I was
this.
like, that was awesome.
And just feeling this was the first time when the crowd were really like hot for something. And Charlotte throughout this whole match was just reacting off them fantastically. And you could see that she missed them. Like, she, for me, had the same kind of fire you see from a Kevin Owens coming back to a crowd. They get into the match and they're just slapping each other really hard. We get more "We Want Becky" chants from the audience. Ripley misses a somersault senton on the floor. Both are now trading forearms. There's a big back elbow from Charlotte. Clotheslines from Rhea, followed by a headbutt. We then get this dirty German suplex from Charlotte and then applies a deep Boston Crab, which Rhea manages to power out and tries to roll Charlotte up for a pin, but a kick out. Then there's the figure four from Charlotte, which gets transitioned into a pin attempt by Rhea. Big kick from Charlotte to Rhea's face, and only a 2 count, and Charlotte looks shook. Rhea then goes for, like, imagine the package pile driver, but then kind of flipped her over and caught her and picked Charlotte up in this vertical suplex. Chris, this was like an incredible feat of strength here from Rhea and really impressive.
Yeah, it was a little scary because I didn't know if she was actually going to pull through. And even though it was a struggle, I think it made her look good because this was an incredibly tough spot to do, and it should be something that you should be struggling to do. So I thought she looked great doing this. This was a little bit scary, but an awesome spot.
Charlotte then sends Rhea to the outside and hits her big moonsault to the floor. Back in the ring, Rhea applies her prism submission, but Charlotte rolls this through into a 2 count. Ripley attempts the Riptide, but she's posing too long, and it gets countered into the DDT. We get the Andrade rolling back elbow from Charlotte to Rhea. She goes for the pin and puts her feet on the ropes, and the referee spots this and gives her a warning, and Charlotte looks pissed. There's the natural selection off the top rope from Charlotte, spiking Rhea for a great near fall. And then by now, these two have completely won over the crowd. No more "We Want Becky" chants. We're getting chants of "This is awesome." The figure four gets countered, sending Charlotte into the bottom turnbuckle, hitting her head, I think she missed, but we're meant to assume she hits her head here. She's selling that on the outside. Rhea comes after her, but Charlotte slams her head against the ring post, then traps her leg in between the ring steps and the ring post, and repeatedly kicks it, causing damage to that knee, rolls Rhea in the ring, and Charlotte applies the figure 8 with maybe the deepest bridge she's ever done, applying so much pressure to the knee. Rhea Ripley is not moving anywhere, and all she can do is tap out, and you have Charlotte Flair as your new women's champion. Jared, let's start with you.
I think you were right on, Davey, when you said that Charlotte seemed to be really happy that they were there, because one thing about Charlotte's wrestling is a lot of the times she's a good facial expresser of emotion, and there was a lot of shots on her face, and because of that crowd being there, she could feed off that, and it was organic and it was real fighting. It wasn't the most it didn't have the most finesse in the match, but at the same time it did really get to me. I had even joked that this was going to be the part of the show that, you know, I go on the bathroom break sort of thing, because I was done with this feud because the build up was so clunky, and who cares, and what is it about, and the announcers couldn't even tell you in the recap, and it was very confusing. But this match, aside from a few little blown spots and stuff, was a banger. It was hard hitting. Charlotte's chest at the end there after those slaps in the corner.
Oh yeah,
like it was a hard hitting, gritty, grimy, ugly kind of fight, and that was awesome.
Chris?
Yeah, I think we were talking about how right now WWE is kind of in this grace period where the crowd is pretty much going to go along with whatever they put out, at least for a couple weeks. If there was a match the fans were going to turn on, it was going to be this one because the story has been so awful, and we've seen a lot of it over the past couple months. But credit to both these women because the crowd was not in it to start, and by the end, they were well behind it. They both worked super hard. That German suplex that Rhea delivered was awesome. Like you said, a lot of stiff chops and all that to Charlotte, who was cut up on the chest a bit. These ladies worked their asses off. Might have been my favorite match of the night. It's between this and the men's Money in the Bank were my two favorites. I love this. Kind of sucks that Rhea loses. Basically, we're assuming that Becky's going to come out tomorrow night and challenge Charlotte. I hope they don't give up on Rhea as a champion down the road, but hell of a match. These two really saved what could have been a disaster on the show.
Yeah, I really got into this one. I'm with you. This could be one of the best matches of the night. Both seemed up for it. They really wanted to bring it in this match, and the crowd definitely added to it. And I actually kind of love turning a crowd as well. The fact that they weren't into it and the fact that they won them over, it's just something we've really missed because that's not anything you're going to get in the Thunderdome.
Every time Rhea becomes champion, she should just be like, oh, can't wait to lose this to Charlotte.
Exactly, and I love stories like that. It's Misawa Kawada, it's got potential to be that Charlotte is the only one who has
to that
Rhea's
level,
number.
we think to that level?
No, I mean match quality. There's something you can build with that, and you get better creative behind this story in a year or two. It's always something you can go back to, the fact that Rhea has never beaten Charlotte in a singles match. But yeah, I thought this is definitely one of the best matches of the night. It really stood out to me. And although we've seen Becky and Charlotte before, we're so removed from that now. It feels such another lifetime ago that I'd be really down for Becky and Charlotte at SummerSlam.
I think we'd have to see Becky come back first and do something. I don't know if I wanted to immediately go to this because it has been some distance and she's had a child. That is a major deal, and most people know her relationship with Seth Rollins and they're married. So I guess Becky is an unknown, so she's new no matter what, but they did feud for a long time in a lot of different combinations with a bunch of different people as well, interspliced in there, that I don't know how fresh that feels. So it kind of frustrated me. Isn't Rhea and Becky, if she is coming back soon, and whether it's Monday or whenever, isn't that a little bit fresher and a little bit more? I could see their characters going together more. Obviously, Becky and Charlotte have history, but is that enough?
I do agree that Rhea Becky would be fresher, but I think for SummerSlam, all they care about is what's going to look best on the card. And Charlotte versus Becky is going to look better than Rhea versus Becky. And they can always do Rhea Becky down the road. But I think for SummerSlam, for it being an outdoor stadium show, all they care about is star power on the card. So I think that's why we're getting Charlotte with the quick title win here.
I think as well, it's way easier to build story in 5 weeks between Becky and Charlotte because the history's already there, and you've got the person who never lost the championship but gave it up is coming in to challenge. I think a Rhea Ripley Becky feud, you can build that for longer. You can have that for maybe if Rhea's in a good enough position, you could do that at a Mania or something. Whereas, as you said, Chris, they're just wanting to sell it. It's 5 weeks. You can build this feud very quickly, and I'm excited to see Becky again. But yeah, good match. Riddle is backstage with Rick Boogs and King Nakamura. And Chris, I believe this is when the cock went down.
Yes, Peacock went. It was like I was on my parents' AOL back in the late 90s, 56.6K. It was just cutting in and out. We would go to black. So I missed basically everything from this until, luckily, it came back right around at the start of the Money in the Bank. But I missed all the entrances, so I have no idea who got what pops and all that. But
do you think the guy in the front row that had the Vince Loves Cock T-shirt from 2006, do you think Vince hates that at the moment because of the feed going down? Because the network was great internationally, It was great.
Oh, I was gonna say maybe it was the guy with the Lily doll and it was doing some kind of voodoo on the feed. But if it worked with the network, I don't know if that was the reason why.
Yeah, the network was fine. No issues from us here in Canada and Australia. So Riddle is talking to Nakamura and Boogs, and he's talking about how great it would be for Randy to be the king. King Randy. He mentions that Randy hates pants, and he asks Boogs if he could play Randy Orton's theme. So Rick starts playing something that kind of resembles Randy Orton's theme as Matt Riddle is singing along. I hear voices in my head. Rick Boogs is singing along too, and Nakamura stood just behind them doing the Randy Orton pose as you see Kevin Owens just behind them looking, shaking his head and making his entrance for the Money in the Bank match. I actually found this pretty funny, and I thought Kevin Owens' reaction and having this bleed into Kevin coming out, I actually really like this. I don't think you got to see this, Chris, but
yeah, it sounds great. I wish I had the chance to see it. I'll probably go back and rewatch this entire match again. But yeah, I do want to catch the intros and stuff too, because I think that's just to see how who is getting what kind of reaction.
Chris, I'm gonna ruin it for you a little bit because unfortunately you're gonna have it focused because there was one of those shots. They could have done a retake maybe. Rick's Boogs' peck was his nipple was sitting out of his top. I'm ruining that segment for you now because if you watch it back, you're not going to be able to not look at it.
Wardrobe malfunction.
Yeah.
Beg your pardon. Matt Riddle comes out. Kevin Owens. We've got John Morrison who comes out to an enormous reaction. This was maybe a bit of a surprise. The crowd loved Morrison here. And almost in a babyface spot, Morrison sends Miz to the back. He's doing this on his own. So no wheelchairs around ladders tonight. As Seth comes out, they show the highlight of him winning the WWE title at WrestleMania when he cashed in his Money in the Bank. Drew comes out, and his reaction was okay. It wasn't huge. I would say Morrison probably had the biggest one in this match. Drives his sword in a big rock and blasts off fireworks as he comes to the ring. But let's get into the match. There's this crazy diving tope con hilo from Ricochet taking out everyone on the outside. Looked great. Riddle follows up with the floating bro after a springboard to the outside. And now Big E and Drew are staring each other down in the middle of the ring. Ricochet comes in and he just gets thrown away and they stare each other again. Seth Rollins comes in, they throw him out and they stare each other down again. And then Big E hits his big spear through the ropes to Drew to the floor. This looked kind of rough here and scary, but it's a great spot, this spear. We get an exploder from Nakamura to Owens on top of a ladder. A corkscrew plunger from Morrison to Nakamura. And then we start getting the Johnny drip drip chants. On top of the ladder, Nakamura applies a triangle, but Seth jumps and knocks both off the ladder. Seth and Morrison now start to team up, using a ladder to take out everyone. And then KO starts fighting back, but he gets hit with a double suplex onto the edge of the ladder, which looked incredibly painful. Drew now comes in and is delivering big chops to everyone. Johnny Drip Drip goes up top and does some flippy shit and completely misses Drew. He's got Drew set up on the ladder and I don't know what he was trying to hit, but he was nowhere near Drew. Seth then takes him out with a ladder, and then Riddle comes in, hitting an RKO on Seth Rollins. He hits an RKO to Nakamura. Drew comes in with the Future Shock DDT to Big E. There's then a reverse Alabama slam on Ricochet onto a ladder, and then Drew hits his own tope con hilo. He goes in the ring, does the countdown, and the crowd were loud here. 3, 2, 1. Hits the Claymore to Seth. But that is when Shenki and Veer turn up and pull Drew out of the ring. They beat him up. Jinder Mahal comes out with a steel chair, smashing him around. And then Ricochet runs the ropes, jumps on top of the ladder to knock off Riddle. But Riddle pushes Ricochet off this ladder. Ricochet lands on the top rope and hits a springboard moonsault to everyone on the floor. Absolutely insane spot here. The crowd go mad. There's an RKO to Big E, an RKO to Ricochet off the ladder from Matt Riddle, but Seth comes in with the curb stomp. Nakamura then hits a go to sleep to Seth Rollins, starts to climb, but John Morrison comes in and uses the drip stick to take out Nakamura. Then Kevin Owens comes in with a stunner to Morrison, a stunner to Nakamura, goes to hit the stunner on Ricochet, but gets countered. But KO catches Ricochet with the pop-up powerbomb. Seth then powerbombs Owens through a ladder which is set up on the apron to the announce table. Seth starts to climb. Big E goes after him. We get the big ending off the ladder to Seth Rollins, and Big E climbs and takes the Money in the Bank. Mr. Big E in the bank. What a match. Chris, I need a sip of water after that. What were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, go for it. This was excellent. And credit to Big E, who I don't know what he did other than just lay low for a while and then hit Rollins with the big ending and then grab the briefcase. So he worked smart, not hard. No, excellent match. Even though I had some technical issues in the beginning. First thing I see as soon as the feed comes back is Ricochet just propelling himself over the top rope onto everybody on the floor. Kevin Owens took some brutal spots on here. The suplex onto the sideways ladder looks way worse than the powerbomb to the one off the ring, but he took a big beating. Ricochet was awesome. This whole match just moved very quickly. It was a lot of fun, and the right guy got the briefcase. I could not be happier for Big E. This is what Money in the Bank is supposed to be. It's supposed to elevate a guy that's kind of near the main event scene, but not quite there, and give him that last push. And I think this is, I hope that it's a successful cash in, because Big E certainly deserves a championship belt, whether he stays and goes after Roman on SmackDown or goes after Lashley or whoever it may be eventually on Raw. Could not be happier with this decision to have Big E win the briefcase. And he got a really long post-match celebration scene. The crowd was really into him, and they just let that breathe for a couple minutes, just him celebrating in the ring with the fans. Awesome match and awesome moment.
Jared.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, right guy. I think the reason they got into John Morrison at the start was we know ladders around John Morrison is going to be something, something special at least. And NXT, if anything, it was the opposite of what he did, because actually on my feed they were right next to Drew. I think he hit with that move off the top, and for whatever reason the camera angle was super low, almost where the body of Drew took up a lot of the shot, so you couldn't actually see it miss. And I was like, man, they must have really good editors to cut to that shot, because I know it was stuffed up, but it didn't look too bad from that angle. But yeah, great match. I like Riddle, who was my pick to win, hitting those RKOs, just building something with Randy, little things like that, because he didn't just hit one RKO, he hit several. And I think that's really building up a story with Randy down the stretch. Some really brutal looking offensive maneuvers with the ladders and crashing through them and stuff. Yeah, a great match overall.
Yeah, I completely agree. This was fantastic. Just kept moving, and there were so many exciting spots in this, and a real feel-good moment there with Big E winning. Two baby faces holding Money in the Bank, which is quite interesting. Personally, I think Big E should be the first one to cash in ahead of time for WrestleMania. And
in Davey's dream world, when does that happen? What do we think?
When would you announce that?
When would Big E cash it in?
Is there an interest in him cashing it in? The thing is, just saying, on SmackDown on Friday, I saw Kofi have his WrestleMania moment, and I would like mine, and I'm challenging for whoever's champion at WrestleMania, perhaps. I don't know. I can't see, it's clear where Roman's going for SummerSlam, with Cena coming out at the end there. So could you do Survivor Series, or do you do it for a B pay-per-view? I don't think you're going to have Big E doing the sneaky winning the title.
I think people are genuinely wanting to see maybe this briefcase, at least until it's the title shot, a bit of a momentum pusher for Big E, because there's a lot of natural fanfare around him, and people just want to see him succeed. It happened when he won the IC belt, so I think that's to properly do the storyline that I think people are going to most favour. I think he has to hold on to it for some time. It doesn't have to be a long time, but at least through the end of this year, I would hope, so that they don't lose people along the way. But hey, listen, it's WWE; they could do that at any time.
I agree that I'd like to see him have the briefcase for a while. I feel like it's been, even if he's going to pre-announce it, I don't want to see him come out this week and, or in a month say, I'm going to do this at WrestleMania. I want a couple of good teases. I want to really stretch it out, because I feel like it's been a while since we've had a really great cash in, and whether it's calling a shot at WrestleMania or like a surprise, let's just draw the tension out instead of have him immediately go after Lashley, let's say, because he wants to avenge the beatdown that Kofi got. Let it breathe.
And you do need to sell that Money in the Bank merchandise for Biggie as well, I guess.
Yes.
Well, I think it's going to be Mr. Biggie in the Bank, and you were saying Mr. Money in the Bank, was it?
Yeah, Mon space E in the bank.
Mon
E in the bank.
We'll see. But we're definitely getting a t-shirt there. I think with Nikki being Miss Money in the Bank, even though she's a babyface, with that gimmick, she can definitely do comedy cash-in teases, I think, and maybe have some fun with the superhero thing, her kind of flying down to try and cash in. But yeah, interesting, two babyfaces being Money in the Bank. I'm not sure if that's happened before. We're backstage, and Seth Rollins is furious. He's furious he didn't win Money in the Bank. And he says that whoever wins the title, I'm next in line.
So as soon as the Money in the Bank match happened, immediately after, you follow up someone by going, I'm just going to get a title shot.
Right.
Anyway, yeah.
Because I say so.
I'm not a fan of Seth's promos usually, but I did think he sounded pretty good here and did bring the intensity.
He was passionate. He was
very passionate. It felt real. It didn't feel like he was playing his stupid character.
And his character is delusional, so at least for him, it makes sense for him to think that he'd do a title shot after he just lost a match to earn a title shot.
Well, let's go to the main event of the evening. For the Universal Championship, it's Edge versus Roman Reigns. Edge comes out to a massive reaction, and he looks pumped. He's ready to go. And Edge is left in the ring. His music stops. And Roman Reigns makes him wait. And it's silent for quite a bit. The crowd are getting restless. They're chanting, Roman sucks. Edge is pacing up and down. And then the big dog's music hits. And Roman Reigns comes out. He yells in the camera, acknowledge me. Stands in the ring. And for it felt like a couple of minutes, both Roman and Edge stand and just let the moment breathe. They let the crowd get into this. Roman's telling the crowd to acknowledge him. And then finally, they lock up. And Roman gets pushed into the corner. Edge slaps him. And they stand apart. Roman looks pissed. Honestly, the first kind of 5, 6, 7 minutes of this, not a whole lot happens. But the drama was definitely there for me, and the crowd were eating up everything. Edge then starts to target the arm of Roman. Roman hits a Samoan drop on the floor, and now it's all Roman in control, just destroying Edge. He locks him in the cravat and then puts him in a choke hold. There's the drive-by from Roman, and then Edge finally comes back by countering the Superman punch into a backslide for a great near fall. There's then a double kick, both knocking each other down. They come back with yay, boo punches. Edge hits the Edge-O-Matic for a near fall, and Cole got really into that one and had a really good call on this match, I thought. Edge then fires up. His eyes are wide. He hits the flapjack to Roman, the Edgecution DDT, and then Edge starts slamming Roman's head on the ring post, and Roman falls, and his leg is caught up on the rope. He's in the Tree of Woe, and Edge starts stomping down on Roman. He applies the STF, transitions into a crossface, and then Roman breaks out, locks in the guillotine, and the only way Edge can get out of this is by pushing both of them out of the ring. Edge then sidesteps a spear, and Roman goes crashing through the barricade. Edge then hits a spear of his own to Roman back through the barricade, and then there's a Superman punch, but Edge falls into Charles Robinson, and Robinson's selling the knee here. He's down with an injured knee. Roman goes to the outside. He breaks off the bar off a steel chair and tries to do to Edge what Edge did to him and the Usos, but Edge gets out. There are headbutts from Edge, and then Edge locks in the submission with the bit of the chair, and this is when Jimmy and Jey Uso come out. But the Mysterios, Dominic and Rey, come out for the save, take out the Usos with a seated senton and a Rana from Rey. And we see Roman is fading from this submission, when out of nowhere, Seth Rollins super kicks Edge in the head, allowing Roman to go, ooh, ah, and goes for the spear. But Edge comes back with a spear of his own, but Roman is down. Edge goes for the pin, but the ref is nowhere to be seen. 1, 2, and Roman kicks out. Seth then runs in again and starts beating up Edge, distracting the referee. We get the spear to Edge, and Roman picks up the win in just over 30 minutes. After the match, Seth continues the attack on Edge, and Edge and Seth fight to the back. Chris, very dramatic main event here. What was your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I really, really like this. I can see how some people might not like the finish with it being overbooked with the Usos and the Mysterios and Seth Rollins, but I think especially in front of this crowd, it works because they were really invested in this match, and each person that came out got a big reaction for getting involved with it. Like I said, I think I like the two matches before a little bit better, and that's not saying anything negative against this match, because this is great. It's one of the things that you don't even realize you miss in this whole Thunderdome COVID era is the small things, not just playing to the crowd, but like you mentioned early on, with just letting moments breathe and just standing there, not doing anything while the crowd is just going, let's go Roman, let's go Edge. You weren't having dueling chants in the Thunderdome with the MP3s playing. So that was just a small thing like that really just makes it feel like a big match. The crowd was awesome. Both guys really delivered. And again, really good. I just think I liked the two matches before just a bit better.
Jared.
I think atmosphere was absolutely key to this. This was a combination between a really hot character of Roman Reigns, who I think people love even more because of the fact that he was actually such a hated character at one point, because this is just so much better in comparison. Amongst a dominant title reign, and then you've got Edge, who is getting his first singles match in front of a crowd since he made a comeback from an injury that I thought WWE would never even touch a return. And I thought that about Daniel Bryan as well, because they just didn't want the potential liability. But it is a kind of a miracle sort of thing, to a certain degree, that he is able to do it, and to do it at a high level. In a feud that is going great. Yeah, the atmosphere was great. Edge can still wrestle, and he can wrestle well, and Roman is great as well. The match wasn't, it was definitely good. I will say that for sure. But, did I expect a little bit more? Yes, the atmosphere more than made up for that to raise my level of opinion on the match. But it was a good match with an excellent atmosphere.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. This wouldn't have worked at all in the Thunderdome. They'd have had to have done a completely different match. I think both of them are very good actors. I think it's clear that that work on Vikings did a lot to Edge, because they don't need to do a whole lot. Sure, they did wrestle here and they did some like crazy stuff, but they can just do essentially nothing as well, and it's very compelling with the right people. I really enjoyed this. I think it was the right result. I think you need to keep this title on Roman for a long, long time. But Edge had a good showing here, and he's very, very over with this crowd. And as you said, it's his first singles match in front of a proper crowd, like a proper full arena, and must have been great for him. And you could see the emotion on his face. But that is not all. So Edge and Seth have gone fighting through the crowd, leaving Roman Reigns, your tribal chief, the head of the table, the Universal Champion, with Paul Heyman. And Roman asks for the microphone. He gets it, and all he says is, "Now the whole world can acknowledge me." When John Cena's music hits, and this was not a split crowd on Cena. Everyone was happy to see this guy back. Huge reaction. You saw little kids crying. This was great. Cena comes out in his full Cena gear, hat and everything, all in green. He says to the camera, "I've missed you, I've missed you, I've missed you," yelling at the crowd. Goes to the ring, stares down Roman Reigns, and does the "you can't see me" pose to Roman as SummerSlam, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Money in the Bank goes off the air. Great, we knew Cena was coming back, but just to see it, for me, it kind of felt like wrestling's back tonight. You've got a crowd, you got Cena, you got some really good main event matches here, and direction where I'm getting excited about potential things for SummerSlam and beyond. Jared, how are you here? Were you ever a big Cena fan?
I never was. I've never really been into John Cena, but I'll say this. I can recognize him as like, yeah, he's coming back from doing a major motion picture, and he's in two different universes with the Suicide Squad, and now coming from doing Fast and the Furious. So he's a mainstream celebrity. He's looking a little older, I will say. The hair, isn't the greatest. He's looking a little slimmer and maybe a little more paler or whatever. But at the same time, I'll say this: he brings attention. He is being put against Roman, who, when they had their feud before, or their matches before, had way different characters in terms. Well, at least Roman did. That this time, I'm very optimistic that this could actually really work out, because we know Cena can be great on the mic. We know Roman's cutting the best promos of his career and has a no take shit attitude, and yet I feel like Cena, especially because of his comical mannerisms, when he came to the ring, the skipping and the laissez-faire attitude sort of thing, that could be some fun chemistry that they have, on the mic at least. And I don't know what condition Cena's in terms of delivering us an actually good match, but I don't ever see him not putting in the effort. So that's a good sign.
I think as well, the style of Roman's matches, just look at tonight's with Edge. I think a sold-out stadium for Cena Roman, you don't need to do a whole lot. You can do a Rock Hogan kind of match, and I think they both just act their way through it, do a few big spots, do the spear, do the attitude adjustment, do the submission teases. I don't think you need to do a whole lot to have a really hot match there. Chris Leone, what were your thoughts on Mr. Cena returning?
I agree. It was awesome. You talk about, I think it was 2016, 2017 when they had their brief feud. It was like all of a sudden hot-shotted onto like a Clash of Champions card.
Backlash, I think.
Some random B pay-per-view just thrown together real quick, and that was it. And back then they were basically both two baby faces that no one really liked. And now you have Cena getting probably the best reaction since his 2008 Rumble return, maybe. And Roman as a guy who is getting booed for all the right reasons. I think this program is going to be awesome. And yeah, like you said, they don't need to put on a 5-star classic with Canadian destroyers and all these crazy
I
moves that
don't
some.
say that they won't. I could see Cena pulling out a Canadian Destroyer.
He's got
Yes,
his code red, hasn't he?
Yeah, that's as
it's been
close
a,
as he'll come.
it's been a while since he's been in the ring, so I don't know what he's still able to do. But yeah, I think the build is going to be phenomenal. It's exciting. Like as fans, we suffered through the pandemic error might also be a good term for it. And now like not just this show, SmackDown, AEW the past couple weeks, like it's exciting again. Like it fans we knew all along fans made the difference, and this past week or two has really shown that. And I'm just excited in general for the direction that things are going.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch Raw for once. It's
How
it
many
brought me
times
back
in the last few years have you said that?
Yeah, not a whole lot, and that's what I like. We're all wrestling fans at heart, and as negative as we can get on WWE, you want that something that's gonna bring you back in and make you excited and make you want to go to these events and give Vince all your money again. And for me, I somewhat got that tonight. It was, I actually enjoyed how it grew. I kind of liked the slower start, and then when that women's match hit, kind of you could feel the crowd were ready for something big to happen. And it just grew and grew and grew with the men's Money in the Bank and that main event, topping it off with Cena. A real thumbs up from me. I really enjoyed tonight. Final thoughts, Jared. Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle?
Yeah, a thumbs up show for sure. But yeah, there was some really good. Listen, I really liked that men's Money in the Bank match, and Big E winning was the way to go. I even enjoyed the tag team opener with the Usos and the Mysterios, and that was quite good. And yeah, the women's title match. Charlotte and Rhea, it was something that I actually thought was going to be almost the complete opposite with how they're booking things in terms of how much I was going to enjoy it. So, especially with that really lifted things. They're definitely a positive show overall. I'm not the biggest fan of Cena, but I'm good to see him back even for this one. Just to he's still John Cena. That has some sort of value, and see where things go from here. So yeah, a relatively positive show.
And Chris, final thoughts.
Yeah, I'd agree. And one thing that we haven't talked about yet, first show back with live crowds, it went a little over 3 hours, but they did not go back to, with 9-10 matches, get as much as you can on the card. There were 6 matches because it was Money in the Bank. There were quite a few long matches. Hopefully they continue with this where it's not, 4.5-hour marathons on pay-per-view nights. They kept it pretty to the point, and I think the crowd was energized still at the end because they hadn't been sitting through 11 matches over, and it wasn't 12:30 in the morning when the main event was going on. So thumbs up for me. Second half of the show was awesome, and yeah, I'm as excited for this product as I have been in a long time, and looking forward to seeing what other surprises and returns and debuts and NXT call-ups that we've got in the weeks to come.
Well, that brings us to a close for tonight and for this week. It's been a hell of a week here at UpNXT, from our regular UpNXT reviews every Tuesday at 10:15 on Twitch, our BD Elite show on Wednesday. We had that coffin match this week, also 10:15 on Twitch. We've been celebrating Shark Week. We've had our Deep Blue Sea review, best match ever Shark Cage matches. That is all on our Patreon, patreon.com/UpNXT. Slammiversary was yesterday with some really good stuff as well. You can check out our Slammiversary review on the free feed. And then topping it off with Money in the Bank. What a week we've had. But that brings us to a close. Jared, where can we find you if we want to follow you on the socials?
Guys, I'm at JRodBlack. I don't really have the active social media really at all, but hey, reach out some of the guys from the Patreon that we've been on shows for have before, so I love that because we've been messaging. And I will make a promise to be a bit more active in any kind of medium with the UpNXT and post-wrestling people. But it was great to meet Chris, and it was good to chat with you, Davey. And listen, guys, the highlight of the show to me was the vocal skills of the monotone Davey Portman singing along to the rhythm and lyrics of a lot of the entrance songs. But I don't know if that was better or worse somehow for Brandon in his versions as well. That kept me very much entertained throughout the show. But it was lovely to be back on a stream with you guys, and a fun night as always.
Lovely to have you back. Chris, where can we find you?
Yep, so you can find me at Just Chris Leone on Twitch and on Twitter. I've got a big charity stream coming up for Corbin Fund Me this week. No, I don't. And just one other thing to plug that's not me, but go to the Post Wrestling Discord. I've met a lot of great people.
I will be jumping on there
through this
for
UpNXT community and the Twitch streams, and just getting to chat and know them better through the Post Wrestling Discord. It's an awesome place. You can with a whole variety of topics to go through and chat about. And yeah, I got to know a lot of the great members of this community even better. So check out the Discord if you're interested.
All right, and if you're there on the Twitch, Dickie Bird's just posted it in the chat for you. Well, thank you guys for coming. You can find me at Davey Portman on Twitter and Instagram, and follow the UpNXT account at UpNXT Podcast. And join in the Facebook chat. We've got the UpNXT group on Facebook. There's always stuff going on there too. But as this brings Shark Week to an end, I'm going to leave you with a fact. Did you know, guys, that sharks don't have any bones?
What?
Yeah, they don't have any
Really?
bones in their body. No bones at all.
Are teeth bones?
Apparently teeth aren't bones. Ahoy!